Coming up today, we're catching up with Adam Newling ahead of his gig this Friday night.
There's this one guy who pulled up and he was like covered in blood.
I'll also tell you about some of our favourite things to eat around Newey. Produced on a Wobbical and Warramai land, this is The Good Stuff, powered by BYD on Newcastle Live.
This is
Good.
good stuff.
The Good Stuff. To wrap up 2023, we put together a list of some of our favourite things to eat in Newcastle. The list is full of hidden gems and things that you may not have given a go yet at your fave local eateries. On the list, there's lasagna bites, southern fried chicken burgers, and mouth-watering ramen. To find out what else made the list, head to newcastlelive.com.au.
This is
Good stuff. Adam Newling is about to head on tour to celebrate the release of his latest album, Dorothy Painted Portraits. Here's some of the chat that we had with Adam ahead of his gig at King Street this Friday night. Speaking of heaps of words, I want to jump straight in and talk about difference of opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a whole heap of words in that song. That's my favourite one on the album. Can you tell me, how did it come about?
I was working at a pub, like a little country pub at the time, and there was probably like a group of like 12 like old lads, and each day they'd come to the pub at like 11 o'clock every morning, and like there'd be no like text messages or phone calls to be like, hey, I'll meet you at the pub. They just knew that like
that was it.
That time
that was
every
the ritual.
day. And if like one of them didn't see each other, they kind of like ask around, and like it was a really small town, so they'd like ask people around town and be like, oh, have you seen like Pete? I haven't seen him this morning. And then someone would be like, oh, heard he's like got this on. So it was like a real like community kind of thing. One of them was like the local garbage man. So like he'd run around and, you know, do the rounds each morning. And he'd kind of check in on all the crew. But anyway, so the song came about that like, I just found it really interesting that in like this small town where the pub was kind of like the church, and you know that was their community. It all was like built and based around this pub. Like this group of people would get together every day and find something different to argue about.
Yeah, okay. But they were mates.
They were all mates, but you know, like all of their like it felt like sometimes they didn't even believe in what they were arguing about. Like their points that they were trying to make, they just would like kind of do it just for the sake of conversation, which I thought was like kind of like a real like sweet, like a bit like almost romantic thing.
I mean, I guess it's better than small talk.
Yeah, exactly. And like some of their opinions were fucking twisted, but you know, it was like interesting that they'd like conjure them up. And I just thought it was really interesting that this difference of opinion that they all had, which is like they kind of thrived off, and that was like what kind of kept them going. So I thought it was like a funny, like just little silly meaning to the song. But I think like once I'd kind of delved into it and started writing the song more, it became like a bit more, what's the word, like kind of prolific in the sense that like, I don't know, like, it's like the first line, like a difference of opinion is what makes the world go round.
Yeah.
So like everyone has their
That's
opinion.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it all stemmed from just like a bunch of old blokes like arguing about like the amount of chips that are in a Smith's packet. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did you ever get involved in these arguments?
Yeah. They were my mates as well. Okay. So like, you know, at the same time, like I'd do the open shifts, and as soon as I was done, I'd go drink with them. But and they're all great people, like, you know, very of their surroundings, but like honest, lovely, humble people.
You can really hear that story in the song.
Yeah, and there's like a few like lines in the song that are like quotes from what they've said.
Yeah, wow. That's brilliant.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so with the music video, that was filmed in one take, right? From what not one take, sorry, but one shot.
Yeah. One shot.
And in slow-mo, or how did it work?
Like it's in slow motion, but in order to do it in slow motion, you have to play the song like double time.
Yeah.
So I think all of the crap that happens in the video happened in the space of like a minute and 20 seconds.
Wow.
And I just sing really, really quickly.
With all those lyrics too.
Yeah. And I'd gotten off a plane from like Perth at like 7 a.m. that morning, and I was like a little bit hungover and real dusty, which I think like, you know, kind of adds to the charm of what the song's about. But yeah, it wasn't easy.
No. Did you have to practice doing it in double time?
I was meant to, but
Didn't happen.
I got carried away. Yeah, it was real fun, and we shot it out at Adamstown at the outdoor velodrome.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this one guy who pulled up, and he was like covered in blood.
No way.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And I was like, "What's going on with you?" And he was like, just some local guy he was like, "Oh, I was on my way here, and a dog ran out and I fell off my bike, and like now I'm all fucked up."
Wow.
And so I was like, I had a case of beers and an esky, and I was like, "Do you want to have a beer and a chat?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, we're filming a video. Do you want to be in it?" So
Is he in it?
yeah, he called a few crew over, and because he's just with like the local kind of like park community there and stuff, and yeah, they were all real good.
Yeah. I'd love to know, Dorothy Painted Portraits was in the top 10 vinyl albums, like when it first came out, which would have been pretty surreal, right? And how's the personal reception of it been? Like, have you been able to have chats with people that have heard it, or
I've had a few here and there. It's kind of been like, it was a bit of a funny one because like I kind of like put it out, and then like it was like that December period, and I try not to spend too much time on the internet in general, but especially around like this family time. So like I kind of like tapped out of you know, like getting the feedback, but I think that's kind of like what I'm most excited for about this tour that starts in 2 days, like because I've kind of been like in a bubble, you know, so it'll be like really cool to see how people have received it, you know, and like that's part of my favorite part about playing shows is like, you know, the chats you have afterwards, and you know, I'm not one of those people who just like crawl into the green room and like
duck off,
hide under a table or something. No. But yeah, like we'll see. But so far it's been amazing. Yeah, you know, I think like my favorite part is that like when people understand like where like the record's coming from, you know, and the songs come from, that's special. And even if they don't understand like where I came from it, like if they like have their own interpretation, that's also really cool.
Yeah.
So I love when I get to hear that from people.
Is there anything in particular that you hope listeners take away from this album?
It's a good question. No, not really. I just hope they enjoy it, you know. Whatever they take away from it, like I hope that's sacred to them, you know. Because they're like, you know, they're all sacred to me for my own reasons. So like, you know, and I'm not going to go out there crapping on about what it means to me. Like, it's more about what it means to you.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, you're at King Street this Friday with Sitting Down and Woofer.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of Woofer before.
They're pretty cool. Yeah. I hadn't heard of them up until recently until we were like looking for supports for this show. And they're young. They're like a young band, pretty fresh. And just got put onto them through like mates of mates, but they got a sick sound, and I don't know, like I love getting like younger up and coming bands because I'm a bit of a seasoned road dog. But I don't know, it's just sick to have like fresh energy in and around shows, you know. Like I'm keen to meet them. I haven't officially met them yet. And Sitting Down, rad.
Yeah, they're so good.
They're sick.
They are sick. Well, look, I can't wait to see the show this Friday night at King Street.
Yeah.
And I heard tickets are going pretty fast, right?
Yeah, it's pretty close to being sold out, actually.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
there's like less than 50 left, which is
Whoa, that's
real
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time
Cheers,
with us.
Bunny.
So good to catch up.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
That's it for the good stuff today. I'd love to say a big thank you to Adam Newling for joining us. Be sure to go and check out the rest of the chat on YouTube or in the Newcastle Live podcast feed. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow from 4 p.m. for more of the good stuff.